Thank you, everybody, for joining Orenaug Mountain Publishing this afternoon. It's Sunday, January 19th, 2025, and we're here for a reading from our new collection called Personal Freedom. And I'm really excited about this collection of poems by people who live around the world and have explored this topic through language. So without further ado, let's get started. Prithvijit, would you be the first
Yeah.
reader? All right, thank you.
Yes. Thank you. Hello, everybody. Greetings to all my fellow poets. My name is Prithvijit. I belong to the historic Indian city of Lucknow, the city of poets, as I call it. And I'm very fortunate to be a part of this anthology. And without further ado, I'm going to read my poem titled Blue Skies and Bougainvillea. A floral conference eavesdrops on the bridge's huffs and whispers. A journey begins. I see some old friends smile, without their faces pointed towards any particular horizon. Their eyes, it seems to me, are embedded within the soil, and the sky and the light winds gently touch them. When Eden finds echoes in shades, I don't call out to them. I just say my name to the closest wind reaching my right ear. Before the winter haze and the rains, these muted manners within this Eden bring respite to troubles of the world.
Thank you, Prithvijit. When I first read your poem, it just was so soothing and so comforting. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you. Thank you for those words. Means the world to me.
David, would you read for us now?
Oh, yeah, with pleasure. So first of all, let me say that this is a huge honor to be here. Personal freedom, actually, this is our mental condition, and we should follow this condition. There is no such a thing like an illusion. It's on the limitation of our personal freedom. That's why I love America, because I was exiled back in 2017 from my native country of Georgia and was granted political asylum in States. That's how freedom works, and freedom does it look from the outside of these borders of limitation. So let's do it. Unification at dawn. It was dark. We thought we were lost in a way. The city was like a maze. I felt us drifting far from our breath, trying to find some hope on the other side of the dark, of silent dark, running toward a river where we'd discover sound, the sound of light. First the river, then the sun. The sun on that river seems so close, drifting through Brooklyn and Manhattan. That's how it feels, I thought. Things anyone could see. Then slowly, right before dawn, the night grew cool. The newborn dew, surrounded by the morning steam, was shaking on the leaf. And in each of us began that deepest unification we were searching for a long time. We were free again, my love.
Thank you. Knowing some of your personal story really enriches an already stunningly beautiful poem, David. Thank you. Bonnie, how about you next?
Sure, thank you. I too feel honored to be part of this anthology and love meeting people and hearing your poems. My poem is called Caring Less. This year, I cared less what the clock said. I let myself roll around in time, getting muddy and needing a bath in the middle of the night. I obeyed instructions, so inconvenient, when the order was now, and now, and now. I got hot and cold, and my head hurt. I finally did what I was told, after a lifetime of rebelliousness. but listening only to the bellwether inside. As a result, I can finally say that I am on time. I can finally locate myself where I am. Not late, not early, but maddeningly here, without the correct shoes, the correct purse, or the correct amount of cash. Go ahead and raise your eyebrows if you think me strange. I am not your anything. I serve another flame, bright red laughing at death's door and ready to live on forever.
Bonnie, I love what you did with time there. And when I read this the first time, I thought, boy, it takes a lot of living to get to get to that point in life. You know, thank you.
Thank you.
Peggy, would you go next?
So I think all of you can guess who this poem is addressed to, so I'm not even going to say the word. It's called "O Great Protector." You proclaimed, "I will protect all women whether they like it or not." Protect us? Like how you protected all the women by groping their pussies? How you protected your 3 wives from your adulteries? How you protected the women you screwed and made sign NDAs? Like how you protected the tradesmen you used, then reneged on in Atlantic City? How you protected your creditors, investors, contractors, employees when you went bankrupt 4 times? How you protected the students you defrauded at Trump University? How you protected your employees who were jailed for lying for you? Like how you protected our communities from climate disasters by stripping the EPA and withdrawing from accords? How you protected the poor and middle class by taxing us more than the rich, more than yourself? Like how you protected the Constitution after losing the 2020 election? How you protected your vice president for following the law? How you protected the Capitol Blue assaulted by your horde whom you called heroes? Keep your filthy criminal hands, lies, and laws off me, whether you like it or not. Your idea of protection is rape.
Thanks, Peggy. When our friend and a copy editor read it, she hit the book and said, "Someone said it," you know, and the candor and the directness. Thank you, Christine. Beck, would you go next?
This is called gratitude. I am free to put my head on my pillow at night of silence. No gunfire, missiles, sirens, alarming sleep. Sleep on my own schedule. Wake to morning light, a light from bed with no alarm. The music of the day calling me to pray or not, to sink into the warmth of a full refrigerator, full gas tank, full closet, stuffed with enough to keep me warm. Allow me free to wonder how to spend my day. Free to read a book that's banned like The Handmaid's Tale or The Bluest Eye. I connect my eyes with passers-by. No fear they will assault me or arrest me. Unafraid of what comes next to you. The wonder of this day, free to fall in love. Love being the luxury of freedom to lounge around in love. Thank you.
Thank you, Christine. That was so uplifting. Really, really appreciate that. And it's a lovely meditation on the wealth we have. You know, and it leaves me wondering why the wealthiest people in the world need more. You know, what's that about? I think maybe they haven't discovered what you have articulated in that poem. Thank you.
Thank you.
Susan Powers, would you go next?
Okay, thank you. And I am also so pleased to have this opportunity, and thank you, Sandy, for putting this together. The timing, of course, is really important. I think that we all need to be stepping up and protecting our freedoms, be very aware of this new political regime, and of course, going back to what Christine read, what we have. But I believe we can't take it for granted. It's frightening when we see how what we have taken for granted could be taken away. And my poem gave me the opportunity to write about something I've been thinking about for a long time, and I will just go ahead and read. Because she was free to do so. The Taliban have imposed a new rule banning women from raising their voices in public. BBC, September 11th, 2024. Because she was free to do so, the young woman walked alone down a snow-crusted sidewalk, unchaperoned, owning her time. Hot coffee clutched in one hand, the other mittened deep in her pocket. Because she was free to do so, she stepped through muddied snow to where a crowd had gathered, alarm ringing in their voices, shouting for help, for someone to find a phone, to get the police. Because she was free to do so, she hurried to the large snowdrift where men struggled to lift a car up and off of a trapped person. Because she was free to do so, this woman knelt in the snow and talked to the crushed body under the wheel, whimpering with fright. Because she was free to do so, she tugged off her mittens, dropped her coffee into the slush, and held my mother's hands. Because she was free to do so, she used her voice, smiled with her uncovered face, said, "Honey, you will be all right. Help is coming." Because she was free to do so, she knelt until her eyes were close to my mother's face, who until that moment could only see feet shuffling, could only hear voices saying, "Oh my God, is she dead?" Because she was free to do so, she said, "I will not let go until help comes." Her warm touch, her soft smile, my mother's lifeline. Because I am free to do so, I write this tribute to a kind stranger, a strong young woman in the right place at the right time, who was a hero because she was free to do so. Thank you.
Powerful. Thank you. Thank you
Brilliant.
so much. Rachel, would you go ahead?
Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us all. My poem is called An Unpopular Opinion, and I wrote it right after I discovered poetry in America on PBS, and I watched the first episode, whose poems by Emma Lazarus and the rapper Nas were discussed, and I immediately sat down and wrote this poem, and then I immediately saw your call for submissions, and I immediately sent it in. So here it is. An Unpopular Opinion, after the poet Emma Lazarus and the rapper Nas. Not as the masses of yesterday, whose cries of deprivation landed on foreign heads, may we gather our cloaks about us to clear the way for those whose only life lay behind, half buried or half dead. Not vilify the wanting, not self-righteously forget the death, war, and poverty that chased them, the journey that made them immigrants. Let us gratefully turn to claim them. Our success should not be a hoarded treasure, but a green square open, a great potluck. May not our greed be the measure for a decimating final construct. How do I say this without sounding like a sentimental, pompous shit? I could start by saying, get over it. We used to pay to immigrate. Now we build walls to ingratiate ourselves to oligarchs whose own great grandparents came to populate. Tell me not to pray, I am not dead, but teach them new ways to thrive with no rebuff. I do not offer them my bread. I know there is enough to fill the homeless, the refugee, and vet. Keep us all with our own sturdy seat at our table, piled high with and beautifully set, with jobs, freedom, privileges, and meat. No, our guilt cannot be a rock for them to always push uphill at this midland hour. Conjure no chains to hold them back, but rest instead on beneficial power. And with a singular voice profound, with excuse me, with strength we say, you're welcome, please sit down. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rachel. That was really something. I just sort of the themes of gratitude and respect and appreciation that come through the poems, and what poets do, right? They help us see where we are. It's amazing. Okay, Sarah Higgins, would you go next?
Sure. So hi everyone, I'm Sage. I'm from the Hudson Valley, and thank you so much for having me today. And of course, thank you to Sandy and Ed. It's an honor to be included in this anthology with so many talented writers. And this is my poem Gleam, which is based off of one of the Wordle words of the day. I have a friend who does like Instagram poetry and whatever, and she takes submissions for Wordle poems. So this is one that I did called Gleam. All it took was an instant, after years of cyclical reconciliation, a gleam of recognition, a mental recalculation, my back against the wall, my own conscience nipping at my heels. I close my eyes, a dot of light. I fall to the floor. I loosen my grasp at last. Thank you.
Thank you, Sage.
Of course.
Love the energy.
Thank you.
Rick, how about you go next?
Like everybody else, I have to thank Sandy and Ed for doing this. I think it's really helpful because it's helped a lot of us feel like we have a voice when I think a lot of us have felt kind of not knowing what to do over the last couple of months, and this actually feels like we're maybe doing something, doing what we can do. Before I read mine, I just want to say I've been a serious cyclist for 40 years, so about as long as I've been writing poetry. And there's this kind of sense of vulnerability that I always feel when I'm out on the road that feels kind of symbolic these days. I don't know. So at any rate, this is my poem. It's called Freewheel. Wheeling my bicycle from my garage can feel like an act of political defiance, as radical a manifesto is dreamt by any Molotov-tossing anarchist. In my cycling kit, superhero tight and superhero bright, I fly past catcalls and jeers, hurled insults, coal-rolling trucks angrily unmanning me. But, in those moments when my bike disappears, my breaths and my heartbeats invisible, the road unthreading beneath my tires, legs moving heedlessly as the sea. The unfettered flow is poetry writ on pavement, and I am nothing, and I am everything, and I am free. Thank you all.
Thanks, Rick. I have a friend who was a cyclist, so he's given it up. But he used to say, like, I would ask him, "Why are you on these roads? Nobody can see you." And he said he didn't care. You know, and I think your poem made me think of him and how when you're in the zone, man, that's where you are. Thank you. And as times get tumultuous, we can go for a bike ride. Take a break from it all. Okay, thank you. Betty Lou, would you go next?
I am so delighted to be here today and hear all of your poetry. I've been very, very moved by each of you who's read so far. The name of my poem is called Attitude. Each time I am feeling dismayed, may I remember the freedom of changing my attitude. Each time I am feeling frustrated, may I recall the peace of my breath. Each time I am feeling antsy, may I again sit and chant my way home to the calm of my true self. Each time I am feeling disorganized, I will pick up my pen and remove the chaos with a list. Each time I am feeling angry, give me the courage to feel its discomfort in my bones and face the fear that my anger is. God, give me the grace to remember that it is in my power to change my attitude.
Betty Lou, your poems always warm my heart, and there's something just so wise and motherly in your words. It's just a tremendous source of comfort. I think I want to print that like 24-point type and paste it on the wall in the back of my classroom. Like, ooh, get myself back on track when things would get rough.
Now, if I just pay attention to my own words.
That was great. All righty. Why don't we, Tom and Sherry, why don't you guys go next?
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Sandy. Thank you, Ed, so much for this opportunity. Can you all hear me okay? Okay. This poem comes from me visiting Scotland a few years ago and having an opportunity to visit the Scottish Isle of Lewis, where I discovered the standing stones of Callanish, which historians say are even older than the stones at Stonehenge in Britain. So there are many stories and myths about this place and these rocks, and a lot of them are spiritual. And this poem is about my experience when I was there. Standing stones at Callanish, Outer Hebrides, Scotland. This must be another top to the world. Twisting roads open out to a vista that touches the entire sky. Gray clouds swirl with the winds over mica sand. I come here to touch something, or something will touch me. I've come to see the 13 tall slabs of silver rock that rest under a full summer moon. I've come to see the moon glide, as the stories say, across the hills that look like a woman's sleeping body. If you position yourself just right, the moon will roll for you along the hilltops and come to center itself above the standing stones at Callanish. On the shortest night, the moon is still, a sign from those who placed the stones. I lean on the tallest. The light purifies me in that moment. They bless me. The wind whipping through my hair. I am the wind, my face against the purple sky. Thank you.
Thanks, Sherry. That was wonderful. Your poem had me go check out online what those rocks look like. And yeah, the magic of your words just enhanced the site.
For me, being in nature is freedom. And I've hiked all over the Connecticut and the U.S. Appalachian Trail and Death Valley and Yellowstone and different places. But there's nothing like having nature appear in your backyard. And this is called Great Horn in the Backyard. After a long day, a long night, on a cold and clear wintry night, in the kitchen, washing yesterday's dishes, I hear a faint set of hoots, almost imaginary. I stop the water, stop the clink of china and silver, pause midway, sponge on dish, and wait. And yes, there it is again. I step out in the breezeway, wear silence like a cloak, still myself, and listen. Nothing but the bare branches above the wetlands. But then, there it is again, this great horned owl with its 5-pitch cry. Hoo, 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 hoo. sounding like every Western movie I saw as a kid. John Wayne, Wagon Train, Audie Murphy, Sugarfoot, listening on the prairie, listening for warriors, but hearing only owls, coyotes now and then, a lone wolf howling, a whippoorwill floating notes beneath the moon. I listened. It came. I listened. It came. Pulses of hoots from a huge owl on a midnight branch, and off, very far off, another great horned answering. For many moments I listened, jacketless, hatless, feet in slippers. Damn the dishes. Damn my supper. Damn the bills. An owl threads its ghostly pitch, sewing up the night with notes, looking for a meal, a mate, a piece of territory, weaving a fabric of magic. So do we all. The dishes can wait. Owls call.
Magic, Tom. Thank you. Bobby, how about you go next?
Sure, thank you. I'm likewise very honored to be here. 2017 was a banner year for me also, and I was granted citizenship in the United States. However, I hope I will not offend anybody by saying that I will never, ever, ever give up my Canadian citizenship as well. So I remain a dual citizen, and I still own a house in Ontario on Lake Huron, and I spend the summers there. I leave the winters to themselves and the more hardy Canadians. So this poem is called A Place in North Ontario. It's easy to be still here, Newtonian, an object at rest. No work, computer, phone, TV, just a camera, paper, pen. Back porch on the river, I watch until I feel I am at peace with the river. Then I go to the front and watch the lake until I came to my place in North Ontario to be awash in exactly this. North Ontario gets lonely. Lonely generates an internal teleological discussion on the purpose of having other people in our lives, or at least temporarily not. I came to connect with the wild, raw earth, unhewn rock, not a Walden Pond thing. Been done, good reading. Let's start with the lake, I tell the vast no one who is not listening. The lake is very large. You can't see across it, let alone throw a rock like you can in Kentucky. The river has a calm majesty. The sky is higher here, yet it is a thin place. A conflagration of sand and water where I ran crazy as a kid. See no magic, do no magic. A place I come to now to look below thought and emotion. The fundamental rhythms of the soil and sea, the way they pull and play on my neurons and sinews. Find a way to let go of who I think I have become. Let ferns and fawns define an essence. You have to look and listen closely, but not try. To try is to fail. Sounds Eastern, right? It's not. It's right here in North Ontario. My feelings don't matter in this ecosystem. The river is calm and constant. The lake is immense. The sky majestic. I'm tiny. Nothing to transcend here. It's already been done for you. Neil Young's Helpless will help you fall in love with North Ontario. Existence itself is improbable. The slight pocket of curved air and thin shaving of dark earth on which we survive. It's imponderable when perceived in scale. I get that here. Fundamental. Thank you.
Thanks, Bobby. That was amazing. I think you and Tom are kindred spirits. You know. Scott, would you go next?
Yes, thank you, Sandy. Thank you, Sandy and Ed, for the invitation, and it's such a pleasure to hear all these poems. It reminds me of what is good in the world. And my career has been spent dealing with the not so good things in the world, representing David's against Goliath's, and when I got Sandy's invitation, I was unpacking some college textbooks that I've been dragging around with me from place to place, and the book that I had pulled out was on logic, and so for some reason, what came out was a syllogism for this poem, and it's short. It follows the syllogism type of logic. The takeaway I guess I would want from this poem is we all have our personal freedoms and our own ideas of personal freedoms, but from a legal standpoint, the shorthand way to see the status of personal freedoms for all of us is the personal freedom of the lawyer in the country. And no matter what country you're looking at, Georgia, I think the gentleman from Georgia will easily see this, but when you see the lawyers losing their personal freedoms, that gives you an indication of what's happening in the larger sense. And my experience, I mean, I have personal experience in this myself in touching different legal systems around the world, including our own in the United States. Personal freedom. Personal freedom, once obtained, is protected by rule of law. Personal freedom, once lost, is oppressed by rule of law. Therefore, rule of law does not always protect personal freedom. Constitutional law is only as good as its lawyers. Lawyers are only as good as their personal freedom. Therefore, constitutional law is only as good as the personal freedom of its lawyers. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Scott. That so clarifying right now. It's could be its own editorial. Thank you so much. Charlotte, would you go next?
So wonderful to hear people read what I read, and it's so much better aloud. And I also want to say I'm delighted that my poem was included in the diversity of these readings. Okay. Sinister Revelations. 3 years old, reaching for a bathtub toy, my right hand slaps my left away. Echoing my grandmother's voice, I chant, no, 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 bad, bad, bad. I knew it was unfair to Lefty, but I couldn't not do it. No, no, no. Later, I mourned the loss. Lefty left behind. Bad, bad, bad. My mother played jacks, left-handed. Vacuumed the rug, left-handed. Placed the tiles in Scrabble, left-handed. Forever denied being left-handed. Unlike my friend, whose father tied his hand for 6 months behind his back, only to pronounce him incurably left-handed. My mother was fairly ambidextrous. She wrote well right-handed, ate off the dinner plate properly right-handed. When her mother wasn't there, switched the fork to her left hand to take salad from the little plate on the upper left. My mother was amazingly uncoordinated. Did it play constantly in her head? No, not that hand. No, no, not the left hand. No, no, no. Bad, bad, bad. She came to visit when our son was born, First thing off, she looked at his hair, the way it curled from a cowlick on the left, signaling to her his right-handedness. Smiling down at our beautiful newborn, all she could say was, "Thank God he's not left-handed." Break the cycle. I vowed right then, he will be free to be himself.
Thank you, Rachel. That one resonates with this left-handed person for sure, but also the arbitrary rules that limit who we think we are. You just captured it so well. Thank you. Okay, Isabel, would you read next?
Sure. Thank you. Yeah, again, it's so fantastic to hear everybody's perceptions and wow, yeah, it's great. My piece, River Freedom. I'm an airhead Libra, and so I think of air as being the most free, but river water is a close second. River freedom. Does freedom flow like a river? Is a river free? What is freedom? I hold water in my hand for a few moments, and it's gone between my fingers. I know this water is everywhere, knows everywhere, every river, every lake, every ocean, every raindrop, every being, animal, vegetable, mineral. Does it know its oneness, its universe, the one verse of life, of allness? Is this freedom or entrapment? Is oneness static or fluid? What is freedom? A construct of separation? I'll stick to allness, the fluidity of infinite possibility. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I think allness is the way we need to go. Thank you so much. Nancy, would you read?
Thank you, Sandy and Ed, for organizing and for your publication. Thank you. As Isabel said, it's interesting how we took freedom in different directions and came up with our own little takes on it. So this is Striving to Please. My father made me drive the brown station wagon in loops around the high school. He smiled as my young hands steered within lanes, despite my nearsightedness. Every spring before dawn, we went fishing on opening day. Lunches were always mortadella on dry bread, grape soda that upset my stomach, but I never complained. In the fall, we watched Namath win with the Jets. I'd sneak a sip of beer. Maybe I would have smoked a Summerdale cigar if my father offered me one. Was I the son he wanted? One morning, we hiked up Talcott Mountain toward the white Hugh-blind Tower, watched a rider strap himself into his hang glider, inch to the edge, jump. Wind carried him over houses, barns, fields, patches of yellow, orange, a few sullen oaks. I closed my eyes, imagined soaring, being free.
Thanks, Nancy. I love the juxtaposition of your outings with your dad, which are very much like my experiences with my dad, and that image of personal freedom. Great stuff. Okay, we'll move on to Lynette.
Hi, everyone. Greetings from the Virgin Islands. My poem is called Personal. Supposedly it happened all at one time, a quiet revelation that took me there, away to a paradise, not caught in a dream or lost in nostalgia, but in the reality I saw and enjoyed it, how real it was, that my life seemed fulfilled, my destiny was reserved for this intense meditation, immense inspiration that lasts through livelihood. It expounds only joy, relief, and safety. Thank you so much for this opportunity and awesome job, everybody.
Thanks, Lynette. That was wonderful. Beautiful poem. Thank you so much. Glennis, are you reading today?
I can do. Hi. And my poem is called Mother Love. What should we say? Fraught relationship with my mother and how it affected both me and her in the end. You have to excuse me, I'm losing my voice. When I was a child, I think you loved me, brushing my hair every night until it shone, smoothing my forehead when fever struck, explaining to the school why I was afraid of the recorder teacher, all done with a softness like the breath of spring longing. But as an adult, I seemed to cause you pain. I no longer wore the flowing dresses you so lovingly bought for me. I courted unsuitable men and even married one. I did not listen to your advice or produce the grandchildren you craved. So in the end, you did not want me to visit and try my best to cajole you back into a life you felt I had sullied with my inconsiderate desire to be something other than you. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Glennis. This is very powerful. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Is now good?
Yeah, yes, please.
Oh, great. Thanks. I'm outside, so let me know if it's too loud. But that's why my camera is off. But yeah, thank you. Sad a little bit late, but this is just there's just such a joy and honor, as many people shared, to show up from all over, sounds like the country, and oh my God, just to share on personal freedom. Thank you. What a gift. Ah, so wonderful to share my voice in the midst of everybody. This one's called Into Sky. A billion times God has turned man back into sky. What do we worry for? I chuckled the other day watching a chipmunk dig at the roots of an old cypress tree. For are we not just this way, storing away our rarest possessions from the passerby? And what would it be like for all of us to bring forth those hidden treasures? For earth would be laughing in daffodils and daylilies from here to Dubai. I tell you what, I'm willing to wager each soul has hidden treasures. And what would it be like, or is this already happening? A billion times, our beloved has turned us back into sky. What on earth are we worried for? Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Andrea. I think remembering that we all have hidden treasures is a good message to carry forward. Dan, would you read next?
Yeah, hi. I've got my book, which came the other day, which is beautifully done, so thank you. And previous one, so very awesome. And it's such a cool sort of grassroots effort, but done so professionally, so thank you very much. My poem was sort of thinking about how artists really can, we live in a time where artists have really a lot of freedom as far as what they consider art. So that was what I was thinking of. And sometimes those things really conflict. So not every artist says the same thing or thinks the same thing. So that's where I was coming from. But so it's called Poet's Choice. I'm sad, but I enjoy nature. I'm sad and may kill myself. I'm angry about the oppression of ethnic groups, genders, religious organizations. I'm angry at ethnic groups, genders, religious organizations. T.S. Eliot, I'm looking at you. You know I love you, right? A thought passed my mind and I wrote it down. A thought passed my mind that I hoped would make readers agree with my criticism of the government. I'm pissed off about the state of the environment. I'm pissed off about the passage of time. There's a plum in the fridge. This poem is a dream I had about you. I'm writing this poem instead of talking to you because your physical beauty frightens me. I've decided to put obscure literary references in my poem because I feel like it. I've written a poem about poetry. If you don't understand it, well, too bad. I've recorded an instant of time. The brook flows in the darkness below the flower path. Two roads diverged and I took the wrong one. Now I'm broke. I drank too much and I punched someone in the face. I thought it would be interesting to equate eroticism with ice cream. I will try to convince you to have sex with me since time is fleeting. I wrote a poem so it would last forever since time is fleeting. I wrote a really long poem because what I have to say is very important. You know, I wrote a poem to piss off the previous generation of poets. I wrote a poem about moving to the city from my beloved hometown. I wrote a poem about moving to the city where no one wishes me well. I wrote a poem for my suicidal friend about how wonderful life is. I write poems to reveal my true self, which doesn't actually seem to exist. I don't drink, but I get drunk on air when I open the window and look down at people passing on the street below. I began my poem, "Let us go then, if we can." Thank you. I know it's weird, but it's something different.
No, that was a great poem, Dan. And the idea of pissing off a previous generation of poets is just plain fun too. All
That's
right.
the idea.
Yeah. Michael, would you read?
Yes, hi everyone. I'm here in Danbury, Connecticut, and really honored to be part of this. I wanted to write something about courage, which is, I think, an important thing these days. Example I use is the White Rose, which is a group of German university students led by siblings Sophie and Hans Scholl, who distributed anti-Nazi pamphlets in 1943. So this is called The White Rose for Sophie and Hans. They dared to rise up in the starless night with messages of hope and passive resistance. Who would not be moved by a beautiful flower? Yet one by one, its petals were plucked. Sophie, you said you had no regrets as you faced the guillotine. Even now, especially now, lingers the scent of a white rose. Thank you.
Thank you for that Michael. That gave me an education and inspiration, and nice to talk to somebody who's in my hometown right now. I grew up in Danbury.
Ah.
Ed, you going to read your poem?
Okay. Hi, everybody. My poem in this collection is called "To Be Free." It starts with a quote from Wayne Dyer. Peace is the result of retraining your mind to process life as it is, rather than as you think it should be. At what price, inner peace? Tell me, please, I'd like to know. How does change happen? Tell me, please, say so. Isn't surrender an acceptance? Don't tell me, please, to just go with the flow. Did the founders leave it be when from Great Britain independence they sought to be free? Did abolitionists leave it to be when they said all people, all races and colors need to be free? Did the suffragettes leave it to be when they said along with men, women should vote, their minds longing to be free? Did civil rights leaders leave it be when they said we need liberty to pursue happiness, to be free? Did feminist leaders leave it be when they said amend that document, our rights, equality need protecting for us truly to be free? At what price, inner peace? Certainly not in acceptance, but definitely in choice. To decide to take a chance, to decide to fight for what is right, to decide to vote, to voice that crucial stance. And it ends with a quote from Abraham Lincoln. The struggle of today is not altogether for today. It is for a vast future also. With a reliance on providence, all the more firm and earnest, let us proceed in the great task which events have devolved upon us. Thank you.
Thanks, Ed. When Ed's looking for answers, somehow Abraham Lincoln comes into the conversation, and when I'm looking for answers, it's very often mythology of some form. I'll read my poem called Where Time Began. And it's inspired by a great blue heron that lives nearby here in Southbury, Connecticut, and doesn't mind being seen, but has a way of disappearing without seeming to move. So this is Where Time Began. I stand still. The great blue heron stands still. Held in place by the taut line of our gaze, the great blue wills the cattails and grasses to render him unfindable at dusk, as his feathers, the color of rain clouds exhausted by a day of satiating a thirsting earth, emerging from dark dreams amid stars and drifting, as on the first day, while on the blue heron's footfall gives shape to this world with soft clay and patience, watered with light that returns the sky's gaze. Shelter him from the grief of discovery. I take a step as a placid heron stands here where time began and where it ends. Thank you. It's our goal, Ed and I, to not exclude people, not people write great poetry and it deserves to be seen. I was saying before, you paint a picture, you stick it in a frame, right? You write a poem, you just want those covers around it, and to be part of a community of poets as well. Very grateful to everybody who took time this afternoon to be a part of this reading, and wish you the very best. And we'll be seeing you in the world of poetry. So thank you very, very much.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Sandy.
Sandy.
Thank you, Ed.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
So much.
Thank you, Sandy.
Thank you, Sandy.
everyone.
Andy.
Thank you.
And
Thank you,
everybody.
Sandy.
Thank you.